Hello and welcome to the MT Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Lanty. My co-host right here is KyleHeath. This is the show where we cover this week's gaming industry-related news. We're talking new and upcoming games, technology innovation, general gaming industry-related news, and a couple of esports personalities. Without further ado, Kyle, what have you been doing this last week? How you been?
Man.
We haven't been chatting too much. You've been posting nonstop, though, for the podcast, and I appreciate that.
True. Dude, honestly, it's been pretty good. You know, I've been having a good week. No, I'm trying to get over it. We were so just being silly before we recorded, so I'm trying to level out. But anyway.
Yeah. Go all the way, dude.
Dude, yeah. This week, game-wise, what I've been playing, played some Smite, some more of that. That's kind of,
Nice.
I think game-wise, that's really all I played, was just some more Smite, kind of getting into that. Looking at the Smite 2 plans, Smite 2 is supposed to be releasing closed beta this summer, so trying to get hyped for that. Playing with getting in a routine of that again, at least once, twice a week, playing that with the boys. So yeah, that's pretty fun. But something else kind of video game related also was the Fallout TV series was on Amazon this past weekend. And
Oh, yeah.
and so
How was that?
Yeah, they posted the entire thing all at once on Amazon Prime for season 1, so I binged it this weekend. And yeah, it was really good. It I think it lived up to the hype, and leading into it, Rotten Tomatoes was got really good reviews from critics and whatnot. So going into it, sure enough, it delivered. And it was really interesting too. It's they I don't know if his interview before or after, but Todd Howard was an executive producer on it, and he was heavily involved, and he worked with some of the writers, especially when they were writing it initially, because they both had a similar goal to try and interweave it into the current Fallout universe and make it canon. So that was very intentional going into the series, and so there's some interesting things that they kind of discussed throughout the first season, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do for season 2. I won't talk about any spoilers, of course, but they do set it up pretty well. So I'm excited to see. From what I've heard, they haven't confirmed season 2 yet, but it's kind of season 1 did so well, you almost assume it's going season 2 is going to get greenlit. But yeah, dude, it was really interesting. It's all new characters, but it's actually based in California, so it's kind of around the Santa Monica area. And there's Shady Sands, and there are a bunch of actual named locations we've heard of before in the Fallout universe, but haven't but have only seen in the first game. That kind of is, there's some lore and some extra story beats that are around that town. So it's kind of
that's really cool to see.
So yeah, I think it's super smart of them to actually try to keep this within the Fallout universe. And not, I think if they were to just kind of say oh, here's another kind of it's a Fallout theme, but it's in another world kind of thing, it's not tied to any of the actual storyline, I feel it wouldn't be as impactful. But the fact that it actually does have implications for the story, and it probably will have some implications going into the next Fallout game, I think that's really exciting. So I'm excited to see what they do for season 2, and I'm just excited to see kind of how they carry that out in the next Fallout game, because that's a ways away, but it is confirmed that we are going to get another Fallout game at some point. So
it's really good.
Yeah, really interesting stuff. But yeah, I would highly recommend it. In terms of video game adaptations, it's another one that we've gotten recently that just hits. So it's good to see. Man. It's good to see that people are taking these a little more seriously over the past few years, and so we're getting kind of good adaptations. It's weird too, comparing it to the Last of Us series. Last of Us is very it's very much it's derived a lot from the first game, right? It's not
it's
new
basically
content.
1 for 1 almost. Yeah,
right. So for this, I think the fact that it's in the universe but it's all new material, I think is really awesome. So they did a really good job of kind of staying in that universe but also adding to the story. So a lot of questions left to be answered, but I think season 1 was a hit, so I enjoyed it. But
heck yeah, man.
But yeah, that was I think gaming wise, that's really all I did this week. Other than that, just watching some sports here and there. Playoff season, so
it's really checking playoff season too. I think that's pretty cool about Fallout. I actually forgot it was coming out. I've been so busy lately.
Yeah,
and I did see a couple of people on Twitter make a post here and there about how it's just way better than the Halo TV series, and how it's a total success. And then you saying you watched it. I know you're a Fallout fan, so you liked it too. it's like, okay, I gotta give it a watch for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
one of the
man.
other things I need to finish is it goes into gaming too, is Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live adaptation. I think I made it into like 6 or 7 episodes. I'm not too far from being done. But Fortnite did a update pushing Avatar: The Last Airbender characters.
Yeah.
So I saw all the abilities, I saw the trailer, and I'm like, okay, I need to get on this as soon as possible. I haven't yet. I've just been so busy, man.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, for me though, I guess that I got on the OG Xbox and played for like a little bit last night, but really I had people in town last week, so I was really busy. And then over the weekend, I had a bunch of stuff I had to get done, a bunch of different tours. I had to like do a whole bunch of stuff on my checklist, like personal items that I had to mail out to the government and stuff, like passport information and all this other kind of crap.
Gotcha.
Tax season was Monday, so
the
the
you
end of
last minute
tax.
filed, did you? Oh, you last
Oh,
minute filed. Oh.
oh, dude, I did a last minute file. I got like I think $80 back, which is fine by me. I'm not trying to get a whole lot of money.
Right,
The idea
yeah.
is to be even, bro.
Yeah.
So it doesn't
Yeah,
get
that's the
stuck in the
goal.
yeah.
I was, obviously, I won't disclose my tax, like anything tax related really, but like I definitely got some money back. And so I was like looking more recently into like, maybe I need to adjust my withholdings at some point because I feel like I'm getting too much, but I don't know. That's
Oh
something I'm
yeah,
looking
yeah. You shouldn't be getting too much. The way I see it is like plus or minus 100, $200.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
kind of
fine.
where you want to be. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
if
look
you're
at
like over the
yeah.
$1,000 mark, then it's like okay, we gotta adjust.
Yeah.
I did get some cool technology stuff. Uh, did I show you the video? I think I posted it. I don't know if you actually got a chance to see it because it was in a group chat, but it was the lights behind the TV. So when we were playing music and stuff like that, the video was like in sync with the
Yeah.
lights, and it like adds that depth to our TV, and
Mhm.
it
Oh
looked
yeah.
really cool in the living room.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to get something like that at some point too. I like the whole because I've seen that all the time of just like people adding those like dynamic lights kind of to their
Yeah,
setup. I think it looks pretty sick. So yeah, I
you
want
could
to
sync it
definitely
up with like Razer and stuff, and all the different apps on your computer.
yeah
Kind of crazy.
yeah that's definitely at some point like especially for the living room TV. I'd love to get like a light setup
Mhm.
for that in my place, but maybe one day.
Yeah, go
Maybe one
go
day.
for it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's less than $20, but it's not a priority, of course.
Right.
But you know what is a priority is getting into this week's first article, and it's a
Oh,
pretty good one, I think.
what a
It's good.
transition.
I'm working on the transitions, dude. I think this article is sad, but the other ones are way better and a little bit more entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah. This is something. Fortunately, it's news, Mike, that we have to cover sometimes. And
It is.
another iteration, which you've been saying is going to be a thing. It's not like it's going away anytime soon. But this is coming from Kate Bailey over at IGN. She said Take-Two announces layoffs while canceling multiple in-development projects. GTA 6 publisher is laying off around 5% of the workforce, or around 579 workers. Well, so Take-Two Interactive is laying off around 5% of its workforce and about 579 workers and canceling several projects. Projects? What are we doing, Kate? What is this? What is this typo? Projects.
It's falling apart, dude.
The GTA 6 publisher announced a new filing. The news follows claims that CEO Strauss Zelnick that the publisher had, quote, no plans for layoffs amid its planned cost reduction program. In the filing, Take-Two said it is eliminating several projects in development and streamlining its organizational structure, which includes laying off workers. Take-Two said it expects to incur between 160 to 200 million in total charges, with 120 to 140 related to title cancellations. It's a plan that's been in the works since at least February. At the time, Zelnick said that the cost reduction plan, we haven't put any meat on the bones of that yet. I would just note that our biggest line item of expense is actually marketing. We do think we can optimize that. We also have third-party expenses, software, other vendors, supply services, and we always find opportunity there. The hardest thing to do is to lay off colleagues, and we have no current plans. Well, that's what he said back then, but what are we what are we doing?
I think we're sticking with the program, whatever keeps the shareholders happy, man.
So,
That's what it's all about.
yeah, no kidding. So, Take-Two had previously claimed that it was done right-sizing its business and is expected to be in growth mode going forward, in part due to the expected release of GTA 6 in 2025. Elsewhere, Take-Two recently acquired Gearbox from the Embracer Group, in the process confirming that a new Borderlands game is in development. In 2022, Take-Two completed a multi-billion-dollar merger with Zynga, But as of late 2023, Take-Two was said to be struggling with mobile due to its acquisition being expensive and late. In the meantime, the games industry has been racked with layoffs 2024, which we've covered on this show, ladies and gentlemen, with EA, PlayStation, Xbox, Riot. Take-Two sets its own cost reduction plan is set to complete by December 31st of this year, 2024. We're laying people off, Mike. It's unfortunate. Take-Two of all places.
That is kind of wild that Take-Two is the one that's going to have to reduce. But I feel like we mentioned this so many times, and is it like we're beating a dead horse at this point with just the interest rates, and they're not going to be coming down, so the funding's drying up, and now people are just starting to get laid off everywhere? I think it's only really happening at the start with these developers, because at the end of the day, this is almost like a luxury item, video games are.
Right, yeah.
So it's unfortunate that that's the case, but it's not as like pivotal as something like a grocery store. Like, people need to eat no matter
Yeah.
what the economy's doing. Yeah, it's just tough to see. And are you surprised at all that they're switching tone after what, 2 years of like, oh, we're all good, no
yeah.
layoffs. 2 years later, see ya.
Yeah.
5% of its workforce.
I mean, that was, well, you said 2 years. Wasn't that like February? Plan has been in the works since at least February. Yeah. That was when Zelnick made those comments. So it was like recent. I feel like he was like, oh, we're not going to kick anybody out. But then all of a sudden they're like, psych.
Well, here we go into like the reason why I said shareholders is Take-Two is on the stock market.
Yeah.
So if we go over here and we take a look at the stock price, just the year to date, they're down 10%. And since the start of February, they were, the start of February 8th, they were at like $170 a share, and now they're down to $143 a share. So that's that's a pretty brutal drop, and I think that had to have influenced it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it wouldn't. Like, just this week alone, they're down 6%.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean that's a good point. It's
everything's slowing down, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely true. I think it's yeah, it's unfortunate Take-Two's kind of next on the list here, it seems. But yeah, I mean it's you know, like you were saying earlier, it's kind of like, you know, we're beating a dead horse to a certain extent because we know kind of the conditions that caused this and what it's leading to. But yeah, it's not too much, I guess, to elaborate on really. But yeah, it's you know, GTA
tough.
coming out soon. It's like you would think, you know, we got to get people on board, but now we're getting people off. So
yeah, it's just a shame. It really is. There's nothing really else to add. It is kind of nuts that they're out here acquiring Gearbox, and then they're like, "All right, well, we got to do layoffs." It's like, why? Why, man?
It's like they got Zynga. That's oh man, it's kind of it's in shambles. It's crazy though. I'll say it's like 5%. Like it's just like you're like, dude, there's no way that's like that many people, right? It's only 5%, but it's like 579 workers. I mean, Take-Two's a pretty big company, so it's just
dude, they've been around forever too.
Yeah,
I feel
the scale is just insane there. 5%'s 579. So yeah.
Yeah. One of the other things we should probably mention for people that perhaps are in this industry and they're just worried about layoffs in their own company. I'm pretty sure, I don't know what the number is of layoffs, but I'm pretty sure most states in the United States have to file with the federal government or the state government and let the officials know that there's going to be layoffs because they have to account for that in their budgeting. It's called the WARN Act. So have you heard of this before?
I don't think so, actually.
It is an acronym. So let me double check. WARN Act Compliance Assistance. It's a Workers Adjustment and Retirement Retraining Notification. So basically what it is a certain amount of people get laid off. They have to file it with the state so that the state can make notice of that. The interesting thing is you can actually, depending on your state, you can look up, like if you type in WARN, 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 and then the state you're in, you can actually Google and search for your company and see if your company's doing any layoffs before your company even lets you know. Yeah, because I think they have to I don't remember what the time frame is, but I think they have to let people know within like 30 to 2 months, or like 30 days to 60 days.
Oh wow, it's that big of a A warning?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, when it's a certain amount of people. So it's like this has been in the works since February. Well, February was 2 months ago.
Yeah, maybe in March they, filed.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I didn't
So,
even know that it was that big of a gap. I figured it was like, oh, like, maybe a couple days or a week.
oh, no, 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 no. It's
That's
it's at
insane.
least a month. It's at least a month. It's like I think it's a federal law, but I don't know for sure. Um, somebody's got to look that up. I know that North Carolina, because I reside in North Carolina, they have. It's not easy to find, but you can find it.
Hmm.
I know places like California, they absolutely like make it readily available and easy to find.
Jeez. Yeah.
So
I feel like I wouldn't be like I would never check that just because I would hate to know if like my company all of a sudden is like like people offices like they're like playing this game of like, oh, am I one of them? Like
yeah,
I feel
it's
like
hard.
it'd
It's
do
hard to know, man.
crazy to my mental.
Yeah, and also like there are states that are just really weird. So you know how like in the Northeast, for example, I mean this might be interesting for people who don't know this. Maybe you're just like only live in one area of the United States, or people that are from outside the country that are listening or watching. But states like Pennsylvania, New York's a really big one. They're like huge into unions, so they have like companies that even encourage having unions or like having you join a union and stuff to represent you for your skilled trades or whatever. In North Carolina, unions are actually banned. You can't have a union in the United
Wow.
States or in North Carolina, which is bizarre. It's like a law that came out in the 1960s, during certain rights movements.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like just some loophole law or whatever. Free hire and fire states too, which I think South Carolina has, or Georgia and Florida even. It's just very bizarre. So you gotta know the rules of whatever state you're living in.
I was gonna say, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
I didn't realize how like state level that was, but I guess it makes
Oh yeah,
sense.
it's very state level. Yeah. Just a little bit of politics for anybody that tries not to pay attention. It's like it kind of affects you a little bit. You might want to look into this if you're in this industry or you want to get in this industry.
Yeah.
Just understand that. I mean, I'm not exactly sure where Take Two is really headquartered. Let's look it up.
I think it's New York.
Probably
I think.
Seattle.
I want to say New York.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
New
wrong.
York, New York.
Yeah, okay, Manhattan, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, but then they have all the different subsidiaries that's all over the place, right?
Yeah. Take
Like
Two Austin. I don't
Rockstar
know. That's probably
Game.
not a studio. Just taking a guess.
I mean, 2K Games is out in California, so
Yeah.
Rockstar is actually out in New York and New York, New York. Zynga, who they just got, yeah, they're also California, San Francisco. So it's like they obviously deal with those kind of regulations and laws. Just a more kind of moment.
Yeah.
Wanted to share.
Yeah, business stuff. We don't talk about politics
Mhm.
on the show, but remember, everyone, if you want to make an impact in your life around politics, local. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, yeah. Local vendors more than anything. Just vote in your own interests. That's all.
That's all it is. But Mike, listen, we got some stuff to cover about Ubisoft, and we have a Bible of a title that can't wait for you to read again.
Jeez. So at the beginning of every single one of our preps, we'll go through and read the articles real quick. And this title is ridiculous. So if anybody's just listening and you got video, switch over and look at it. It's coming from PC Gamer by Molly Taylor. I understand why. I assume that's a female. I understand why she actually wrote it out this way, because if you would have started with the first sentence, I probably wouldn't have cared. But then when you add more clarity, it's like, okay, let's click on it.
Yeah.
So the title of the article is Ubisoft is stripping people's licenses for the crew weeks after its shutdown, nearly squandering hopes of servers and acting as a stark reminder of how volatile digital ownership is. So
Hmm.
the crew is a racing game for anybody that's curious. Kind of fell off a cliff. It was kind of supposed to be a competitor to the Need for Speed franchises. So Ubisoft has gone one step further to try and stop people getting into the crew. So the downside of digital ownership, which we've talked about multiple times on the show, has reared its ugly head for enjoyers of Ubisoft's open world multiplayer racer, The Crew. The publisher has revoked its license for those who owned it on Ubisoft Connect, also destroying fan ambitions to revive the game in both an offline and online format. A little bit of context here. Do you remember the game Rocksmith?
I do.
I have Rocksmith on multiple devices,
I have it on Steam.
specifically that 360 over there.
Okay.
It will not work anymore, and it won't work on Steam because you have to like I bought it on a different platform that wasn't Ubisoft, or it was Uplay or whatever the heck, because they like cycle through these because
Yeah.
they always fail. And Yeah, I lost the ability to play the game now.
Wow.
It Yeah, people were telling me you had to go to, like, the beta or alpha format of the game to get into it,
Oh
and then
my
it's
gosh,
bricked. It doesn't work, so I'm like, "Okay, I guess I won't be practicing on that guitar right there in the background."
dude.
It's very annoying. A little bit of,
Jeez.
unfriendly consumer practices by Ubisoft all across the board. Let's continue on. So, the crew was pulled from sale back in December, with Ubisoft revealing that the servers would be shut down at the beginning of April. Frustratingly, despite a large portion of the game being doable in single player, the crew remained an online only endeavor throughout its decade long lifespan. That has already rendered the game unplayable, but it seems Ubisoft is determined to take things one step further to stamp out any attempts to continue playing its past its expiry date. Fans began to notice earlier in the week that the license to the game had been snatched away from them. A message at the top of the game's library page reads, "You no longer have access to this game. Why not check the store to pursue your adventures?" It's also been moved to its own individual section in player libraries listed under inactive games. Apparently, booting the game directly from the installation directory will still launch the game, but only in a demo mode. That's what I was talking about when it comes to
Wow.
Rocksmith. Very annoying. So the news has, unsurprisingly, gone down very poorly. This was the saddest and most ruthless decision I've ever seen in gaming history. One Redditor commented after a screenshot began circulating on the site. Dude, Redditors are always upset. Come on.
Yeah,
I will
true.
always I will always fight for the digital media. I love all the advantages it gives its users all around the world, but this we need protection on the national and European level that when we purchase something, we need to have lifetime access to it no matter what. A further Reddit user called it really abhorrent behavior that needs to stop being legal. With another writing, in an ideal world, revoking a license like this should entitle the buyer to a refund. I'm not sure why they're even bothering doing this. The game isn't playable anymore, so what exactly is the harm in keeping the game available for download for those who have purchased it? Server space? Is Ubisoft really that cheap? Yeah, they're barely surviving, brother.
Yeah, baby. Are we seeing
They're
these forwards? Have we seen what's going on? Have we seen these games flopping, as they say?
constant flopping of the games, underperforming all around, like Ubisoft just in general. They've been canceling multiple games. They've been laying off a bunch of different people. Doing certain like entire studios have been closing. Like Ubisoft is in trouble right now. Let's make no mistake about that. But they do have a good point here. If it's downloadable, why not just remove it from the servers to be downloaded? Why do you have to make it an always online experience and then you're taking up server space?
Yeah, it's true.
You know, just like, hey, this is your last time to buy it. Kind of like how Nintendo does with their digital copies. They're just like, hey, this is the last time to buy it. After that, we're like taking it off the store. We're getting rid of the store completely. But if you have it now, you're good to go.
Yep,
You know,
exactly.
that's how it should be. I don't understand why that's not the case.
Yeah. Look, two things Ubisoft that indicate the state of the company. We'll start with one. I really hope I get this game right. I think it was this game that Yves Guillemot said on an investor call or something like that. He said something, I'm pretty sure, I really hope I'm right here. I'm pretty sure it was Skull and Bones. He said it was like quadruple A or something like that. He said some ridiculous claim about how some game was quadruple A. I don't know if it was Skull and Bones, maybe another one. But it was like a game where everyone was like, what? Like it's barely triple A anyways. But it just didn't make sense. And then also talking about especially all the backlash that's come out about the new Star Wars game that is charging like crazy money and stuff like that for
Oh,
the game on certain like versions or something like that. Like everyone's already annoyed and pissed off, and like the game's nowhere near out yet. So yeah, there you go.
yeah. What game is that? Is Rogue Star Wars
I'm
Outlaw
forgetting the subtitle. Outlaws. That is, yeah, Star Wars
Outlaws?
Outlaws. That's what it is.
Yeah, I'm in a fantasy like group for game releases, and we
Yeah.
do it based on it's on Game Critics, so we do it based on releases of games. You're able to pick somebody
Yeah.
else's pick as being worse than 70 score, and mine are like insta locked. Like you can also pick things that aren't gonna likely release. Easy one was like Hades 2 is like rumored to be out, but we've got nothing, so it's like it's probably gonna be out next year. So I was like, okay, Hades 2,
Yeah.
whatever. And then somebody picked Star Wars Outlaws like third round of the draft. And I'm like, oh, that is definitely my anti pick. Like, there's no way this game is gonna be good. Just everything that we followed about Ubisoft, they're falling apart, man. There just hasn't been good news coming out of there in a
Yeah.
while.
Oh,
in a
see, Mike,
while.
I was right. Ubisoft CEO comments on Skull and Bones $70 price, calls it a quadruple A game. This was on February 9th, and it was on Game Rant. This is an article that posted it. It's like, dude, what are we talking about? Yeep, what are we talking about? Oh man, Ubisoft,
Bro,
by
this
the way.
that I think the problem. I think this is going to be kind of a hot take, right? I think the problem with studios that are like AAA studios, big publishers, and they have all this money backing, and like there's a lot of pressure. The people that are doing the PR work and the marketing teams have no idea what the game is, like at all. They're just like they go to a couple of meetings, conference meetings every now and then. They sit in a couple of calls. They hear that everything's going great by the development team, but the development team is like stressed out of their mind. They can't do what they think they can do, and like the deadlines are getting pushed. But it's like the PR guy always needs to talk up the game constantly, and it just release is busted. There's like a complete separation between marketing and like selling the product and the actual development of the product. Have you noticed that? Like a great
Oh yeah,
example is the Fallout games and Tom Howard. Is it Tom or Tim Howard?
Todd Howard.
Todd. Yeah, she's. I picture him in my face, and I always called him Howard. So T Howard. So yeah, I think that's a good example. Like anything by 343 Industries in the last like 10 years, that
Yeah,
they're completely disconnected from reality.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it's just I don't understand. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
That's
look,
my take.
like, oh, dude, I shouldn't be defending Todd Howard because, like, especially with 76, it was just so bad. But like, I mean, he was like
Terrible.
from like from like Daggerfall all the way to like Fallout 4. Like, he was pretty heavily involved in most of those games, and they were pretty
Yeah.
good. But then, like, when Fallout 76 happened, too many cooks in the kitchen. They didn't have to fully flesh it out, and so it just released unplayable and just a mess, and it was very upsetting. And then, Starfield came out. Granted, it's so, which another thing about Starfield, like, I feel like it just hasn't aged well for some people. Like, I like everywhere I'm seeing now, it's like Steam reviews are like kind of mixed. It's 50-50. People either think it's super boring or they really like it. And there's like a lot of like negative reviews on that game now. But I don't know. I mean, I thought it was good. It's, I will admit it wasn't like, it wasn't like insanely groundbreaking or like, whoa, like this is the next thing.
Yeah.
But I thought it was, I thought it was a lot better than 76 was, and kind of it released a lot better, certainly.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I still really enjoyed the game. I mean, I defended in that aspect. I mean, I thought it was, a good Bethesda RPG. That being said, I hope Elder Scrolls 6 they really kind of push a little bit more outside their kind of, RPG sort of, I guess, like kind of typical style that they go with. Kind of fall back into the Skyrim kind of thing of just like, having something expansive and something that's, has a good gameplay loop and whatnot. But I mean, so all that to say, like, I like Todd so much, and like I see it all the time every time that he does like interviews and stuff like that. The YouTube comments, there's always someone that's like, dude, he's like, every time I hear Todd Howard speak, it's like, it's like an ex-girlfriend you still have feelings for. It's like, it's just like, they hurt you in the past, so you're just like, you can't help but have feelings for them. That's kind of what it's like for me with, Bethesda and Todd Howard. But yeah,
I think that's a fair assessment. I think anybody that has had the Todd Howard experience through just it's like everybody had to have felt that at one point.
yeah,
I think the other thing that's going on too is it's just it goes back to how there's that disconnect. And I don't think Starfield was a bad game, but I think they got bad reviews because the people that played the game were expecting it to be a different type of game. Like there wasn't a clear vision in the marketing of what Starfield actually was. To me, it was like
yeah,
at
I mean,
least it just really pretty, like a great exploration game in space, and then you can do whatever you want, and then you get there and it's just like, well, I can't do everything I want. It's like I can't really travel the way I thought I could travel.
yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know,
that's
maybe
fair. I think that's yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It was very odd, and I think people just they got the wrong impression from the marketing team and the trailers. And it's like seeing a movie, like, because the trailer looks phenomenal, and then you get to the movie and you're like, the trailer was the exact opposite of the movie.
Yeah, they
Like,
hyped
what
it up too
happened
much,
here?
or they showed too much in the
Yeah.
trailer. Like,
Yeah, it's just like the trailer was better than the movie sometimes.
yep.
That's kind of how it is. And it's not that the movie was bad or the game was bad. It's just it wasn't what you were expecting. So your like expectations skew your experience
Yeah.
sometimes.
Oh, dude. And look, before we get off this topic of this article, I just have to say, listen, if I go to Steam reviews, Mike, and I'm scrolling through reviews of a game to try and gauge interest among the community, if I see you have any more than 500 hours played on a game and you give it not recommended, I'm not reading your review. I'm sorry. You put 500 hours into the game and you don't like it. Like at the time, I don't know, Mike. The time. I mean, unless you leave it open, unless you leave it open, like something tells you kind of like the game. You spent 500 hours on it. I'm just saying.
500 hours is a long time. Like, let's just do a quick math here. How many hours on average when you have no life, no job, no commitments, do you think you would spend a day?
I mean, think about it like this. You know, it's so funny.
I could put in 6 hours if I have no life.
Yeah, maybe.
That's 83 days. 84 days.
I mean, months to the average individual. Listen, also a side note, I always like every now and again I'll look at Witcher 3 reviews because it's always like funny to see like because like that game is so beloved. It's so beloved, right? So you just see like everyone raves about it. It really is a good RPG from what I've heard. But like I went on there like in like a recent review that was left like a month ago, someone clocked exactly 10,000 hours. Exactly. On the game, and they left a review. Jeez. I was like, dude, that is a single player game, Mike. That is like 414 days nonstop. If you go nonstop, that would take me years to log that many hours on a single player.
It's been out for like 10 years, hasn't it? It's been out for a long time.
10 years. I mean, it's certainly doable, but that's just insane, man. 10,000 hours on a single player game. I mean, that's a good game right there. You got people dedicating that kind of time.
I mean, dude, if you're playing that many hours, if you're out in public, that's probably all you bring up and talk about.
Yeah, maybe.
You know? I mean, it's a good story, so hey, whatever. Yeah. I knew a guy that played nothing but Fallout, and like hearing him talk about Fallout. No, it wasn't Fallout, was it? It was what's the game? I have it over there somewhere. It's an Xbox game that was like you're buried underneath the ocean or something. BioShock. Yeah, you would talk about BioShock forever, and I was fascinated by everything because it was like, this is a really good story. I want to play this. And the guy knew everything, and he was like explaining it. I was looking forward to working with him. I'm like, yo, what happened next in the story, dude? Give me the full lore. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess moving on because there's really not much else to add other than we don't like digital only games.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. This is the reason why. We have a good article next though, Mike. We really do. Listen. I feel so bad for this person, but at the same time, it's kind of like, whatever. It's funny. It's funny. Yeah, literally. So this is coming from Game Rant. John Benelli. No, it's not Spanish. Benelli. Alan Wake fan buys 4,000 copies of the first game that she can't even play. A huge fan of Remedy Entertainment's Alan Wake buys thousands of digital copies of the original game before learning none of them actually work. So this will be interesting. A devoted Alan Wake fan has bought 4,000 digital Xbox 360 codes of the 2010 game that are unfortunately unusable. The original Alan Wake was released in 2010 and has been a cult classic Xbox 360 title over the years. The creepy story of fiction writer Alan Wake being haunted by his own writings coming to life in the Pacific Northwest town of Bright Falls captivated fans with its unique and gloomy atmosphere. This also reminds me, I still need to finish Alan Wake 2, but that's a side note.
Yeah, you do.
13 years later, fans of Remedy Entertainment Alan Wake were treated to a long-awaited sequel. Alan Wake 2 was released in October with rave reviews, becoming one of the most well-regarded games of 2023 next to Baldur's Gate 3 and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Introducing a new protagonist alongside Alan himself, Alan Wake 2's Saga Anderson helped new players grow acquainted to the twisted narrative of Alan's world. Alan Wake 2 allowed players to swap between Saga's adventures as the FBI agent in Bright Falls and Alan's dangerous trek through the Dark Place. The sequel also took a bigger swing at survival horror with its Resident Evil-style gameplay and level design, compared to its predecessor's more action-oriented third-person shooter combat. One devout Alan Wake fan loves the franchise so much that she bought thousands of copies of the 2010 original game she can't even use. PC Games interviewed a fan named Alyssa who purchased 4,000 Alan Wake promotional cards from 2010 for $240 on eBay, each containing a code for the digital version of the game on Xbox 360. After trying a number of the codes, Alyssa disappointingly discovered that none of them allowed her to download Alan Wake, rendering the entire purchase useless. That's rough and tough. All these promotional codes and they don't work.
Why? That's the question. Why were they useless? What happened? The servers, probably.
And reaching out to Microsoft support, Alyssa learned that more than decade-old promo cards that shipped from Finland, the home country of Alan Wake developer Remedy Entertainment, were likely never activated for use to begin with. One might deem the purchase as a bust, but Alyssa has other plans for these Alan Wake code cards. In the process of producing an Alan Wake 2 fan video, she plans to use her abundance of Alan Wake promo cards as props for a scene. Fitting, considering many of Alan Wake's surrealist visuals portray thousands of pages of paper, either flying around or pasted surfaces. Alyssa also expressed wanting to adorn one of the walls in her home with the promo cards. I mean, decorative piece, I guess. Just like smother them on a wall. You might as well.
Yeah, I guess so. What else are you going to do with them?
She said in a quote, "I'll probably cover a wall in my room with the cards because that sounds funny. Also, I just really love Alan Wake." It's I'm kind of like scared, but also fascinated by someone's level of devotion to the world of Alan Wake. It's a great story, don't get me wrong. But it's just like she just really loves Alan Wake, you know? Gotta give it to Alyssa.
Yeah, I mean, definitely respect. It's kind of wild that that's a huge risk, I guess.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate, but it seems like she has the right attitude. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's really not too much left of the article. They just talk about, we got DLC for Alan Wake 2 on the horizon, Night Springs. Little is yet known about the DLC. It's possibly more could be learned in this year's Summer Games Fest, which takes place June 7th. Mike, we're 2 months away. 2 months away, Mike. 2.5.
We're not far away at all.
A month and 3 weeks. Something like that.
This year's going quick, man. Going quick.
Yeah.
A lot of games on that list that just mentioned here that I haven't even gotten to.
Yeah. So anyways, 4,000 copies of a promo code, and it's likely they weren't even activated in the first place. That would have been crazy, though, if they worked. Like $240 for that lot, and then all of a sudden you're just flipping them $10 a piece. I mean, making that money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Burning $240, she got it like that. It reminds me of people buying unopened packages of Pokemon cards.
Yeah, like
from
Pokemon
the
TCG.
90s. Yeah, and then unfortunately they turn out to be fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame. But it's pretty it's kind of cool having the right idea of saying I'll probably cover a wall in my room with the cards because that sounds funny. Also, I just really love Alan Wake. It's okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I guess
make the best of a situation. Right?
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah. I mean, they make good props too. If you're, sounds like content creator. So yeah, you can use them all. It's a lot of paper. So find a good use for it. I just thought that was really interesting. That I was just scrolling, looking at articles this week, and I was like, someone did this. So I just looked into it, and I was like, sure enough, someone just really likes Alan Wake.
That's a fact. And it's always good to share a little bit of love for Alan Wake because that Alan Wake 2, what did they win? They won 4 or 5. They were nominated for freaking everything.
They won best narrative or something like that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did well. So very good take. And are they talking about doing a Alan Wake live action?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's interesting too because the game kind of has a live action element to it, right? I mean,
that's what I mean. Yeah,
it does. I mean, they certainly could expand on that world maybe more, but in game itself, there's clear filming of live action. So, it's really interesting too because it's it feels almost I think it used to feel kind of cheap whenever they would have real people in video games, but that was back when video games were looked terrible. They had 64 bits to work with, so they would impose these film videos in. It was really weird. Now it kind of makes a little more sense. But yeah, very interesting stuff. Do you like protecting source code, Mike?
I do. Sorry, I was doing one more check really quick about the Alan Wake TV series. Apparently it's a TV series. They're working on it in the shadows. So possibly. There hasn't been a lot of information out, so some people aren't sure if it's still in the works or not, but something to know.
Look, I'm at the point now, Mike, where I could just watch every video game adaptation besides Halo. Everything besides Halo.
I'll give all of them a shot, but if the moment you get away from the lore, I'm not interested anymore.
That's what I'm
because
saying,
it's I'm a gamer, so if I'm watching it, it's because I like the game. And if you go off the game, I no longer care. So that's just how it is.
Mike, maybe you're not the target audience, Just is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
The source code is always what it is, right? I think.
Always source code?
Kind
Yeah, possibly.
of.
So this is a good one to actually bring up. So this is coming from Kotaku, Ethan Gotch, or we've covered his articles multiple times. They seem to hit, and this one is pretty interesting because Steam was apparently hit. So Steam hit Ready or Not source code stolen in a massive hack. So a little bit weird way to write the article. So there's like a video game called Ready or Not, and there
It's a
was a
Steam hit.
break, a hack. Yeah, yeah. There was a hack, a massive hack that stole the source code of the game.
Hmm.
Kind of interesting to see. I think this isn't the first time we've seen hacks happen. I think the last hack article that we covered was the Apex Legends competitive break-in. That was wild.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, let's get into this article from Ethan. So hackers stole millions of files from the studio behind the controversial hit Steam shooter Ready or Not, including the source code and console builds of the game. Insider Gaming reports the development team at Void Interactive has not made the data breach public yet, and it doesn't appear to have included any employee or player data. Well, at least that's okay. According to the images and file contents shared with Insider Gaming, the hack occurred in March when an unnamed group made off with over 4 terabytes of data from the Ireland based game studio. In addition to the source code for the SWAT like multiplayer sim, the stolen data also includes builds for the game running on PlayStation 5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, and Xbox One. Since its early access release in 2022, Ready or Not has only been available on PC, where it racked up tons of players on Steam thanks to gritty atmosphere and tense hostage situations. A review by GLHF called it the best tactical shooter since SWAT 4. For those who don't
Hmm.
mind the game's occasionally unfair AI and the developers trying a bit too hard to be edgy. Interesting way to write about it. Um, I find this pretty interesting. So I wonder where the hacks actually came from. It doesn't seem like they know. And I've experienced a couple of hacks working for companies, and what ends up happening is it's usually like some like hacker group that gets in through like
Yeah.
the lamest phishing like scam through an email, breaks into the server, hijacks the entire server, and holds it ransom for like Bitcoin. That's like a very common thing
Yeah.
that I see or I've seen.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, but continuing on. But more recently, Ready or Not players have complained about the prevalence of bugs and a lack of new features and content despite the game's initial success. The 1.0 release in late 2023 garnered a lot of criticism for gameplay changes and issues that have gone unfixed for months. As much as I am disappointed in Void's handling of Ready or Not over the last few years, especially the state of 1.0, no studio deserves this, wrote one player on subreddit. Why why are people always taking quotes from subreddits
I don't know. Everyone
and
gets Reddit.
adding
I
it to
mean,
their article?
strangers on articles. This sucks, and you suck if you're celebrating. Amen. You know.
Yeah.
No one wants to steal source code.
Yeah, it is crappy. When you steal the source code of a game, you basically get the keys to the game
I mean,
in a
yeah,
way.
it's. I mean,
You
something
get
like
full
that too.
access in a way.
Yeah, I mean, you get full access, but you also, with that full access, you can poke and prod and find vulnerabilities pretty easily. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
when it gets bad because you start finding backdoors and stuff. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta
But
work the patch pretty quickly if you're Void. So
yeah. So there was an update to this article. So the update to the article is as follows. A representative from Void Interactive confirmed the hack in an email to Kotaku, blaming it on critical vulnerabilities discovered in Team City's cloud service for build management. Interesting.
oh, dude, the pipelines you got finessed
Talk
through
to us.
the the build pipelines. That's tough. So like it's not. I mean, most situations it's like this. Whenever you have like, I mean, this is outside of gaming, but if you're just like thinking about just like a standard like web application or something like that, if if you get to a certain point, a certain size of the gap, you need a quick way to deploy it, to a production server or something like that that's outside of your scope. And the quickest way to and like the best way to do that is like normally you hear the term like CI/CD, like content delivery kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where it is. I mean, there's certain people known as like DevOps engineers that will like craft these themselves because they could be so intricate and you have to know a lot about different cloud services and whatnot. So I mean, essentially what this is probably they had some pipeline set up from the repository to be able to essentially compile the code, format it in specific ways, and then send it off to these cloud providers so they can upload it to different servers and whatnot. It sounds like they had some had some bad vulnerabilities in those pipelines that I guess that people were easily able to kind of sneak in and do stuff. But yeah, it's tough.
Jeez. The more you know. Look at this. We have an expert on staff. So, finishing up with this little update, it says the studio also said that no player or staff data was stolen and that the hackers only got access to some source code and screenshots of upcoming project information. Here's the rest of the statement. Data security. We can confirm that no user related data or staff information has been breached during this incident. Our top priority remains the security and privacy of our users and contributors. Game content protection. Furthermore, we have confirmed that some source code as well as directory information has been stolen as a result of this breach. Our development assets and proprietary code remain secure and intact. Nature of infiltration. So, evidence from ongoing investigations suggests that the attack was limited to the Team City Services interface. As a consequence, the attackers were able to obtain screenshots of top level project and company related information. However, it's important to note that this does not involve any sensitive data leakage. Interesting. So,
Yeah,
it's good to know that it's safe for employees and the consumers.
yeah,
That's good.
very true.
And that it doesn't seem like it's super malicious, like
Yeah,
to the point of, I don't know, you got to shut the whole company down, you hold it ransom, like I was talking about before.
yeah, yeah. Important caveat too to some of those pipelines that I forgot to mention earlier. The main reason, like, one of the main reasons you want to kind of automate that process is if you have like a bunch of unit testing or anything like that, you want to do against the code base before you push it to make sure it's stable. It's done typically within those processes, so it's kind of just like an all-in-one. So you can literally just hit a button and it'll test all the code, send it to a server, deploy it out, and it does like all that for you essentially. So yeah,
Fair enough then. Alrighty, so I guess that's really it for the Steam hit, ready or not.
well then we
If you
move on.
wanna, that's what I was about to say. We got the overall sentiment of, I guess, the industry of developers
Yeah,
that we follow so clearly.
we pulled this from Justin Carter, a game developer, but he said 70% of devs are unsure of live service games sustainability. So many games fighting for players' attention and interest losing out over time. Time sink games are at risk of losing steam eventually. It's so funny too because from the recent polls and everything we've discussed on the show, there are so many live service games in the works right now by so many different studios. Seemingly one for every studio given. It's insane. So I think it's a pretty interesting stat. Let's dig a little deeper, shall we? New survey from the Game Developer Collective shows concerns over video games monetization methods, particularly as it pertains to live service games. 600 developers were interviewed between February and March of 2024. The live service label, according to representatives, 67% and 53% of devs are defined by their frequent updates and in-app purchases. 39% of participants had mild worries over current live service business models. 31% were, quote, very concerned, while a combined 29% either had no fears or were unsure. So they kind of talk about that, break that down a little bit more. There's a little bit of a chart here. Sustainability of live service games. As we said before, 70% of developers have concerns about sustainability. Loss of interest from players and increased competition are major drivers for sustainability concerns. And then they kind of did a little quiz. What are the main concerns about the sustainability of live service business models? 63% mentioned players losing interest of live service games. 62% mentioned competition in the market. 47% said rising user acquisition costs. 34% said rising development costs. 20% said competition from other entertainment. 12% said loss of interest from investors. And then 12% was other. And there was 1% don't know. Who's the one guy saying don't know? You know what I'm saying, Mike?
Yeah, weird, right? What do you mean you don't know?
What do you mean? All right. A February survey from Griffin Gaming Partners revealed most developers were making live service games, which we had discussed earlier in a past episode.
Yeah.
Interestingly, only 35% of the 600 told the collective that they considered their most recent release a live service game. And of those not already using a live service model, 10% think their studio will shift in that direction. How live service games are affecting future games to come. When it comes to live service games, developers are currently split on their industry impact. 44% have a mixed view on them, while 45% hold them in a negative light. The chief worry, according to the survey, lies in sustainability. like we just mentioned, 63%, 62%, 57% are admitting difficulty in long-term engagement. Monetization models. It's another little chart. Combined view monetization models used in most recent games versus next games. I guess versus next games. Digital release, upfront payment, 72%. Paid DLC, 21%, 30% for the next. Paid in-game contents, 27%. Physical retail release, 26%. Battle passes, 10%. Game-specific subscriptions, 5%. There's many different ways here that we can distribute, do all this kind of thing, you know. It says to avoid speculation, we only asked developers currently working on a new unreleased game about the monetization of their next game. The expectation was these developers would have reasonably consistent monetization models between games, i.e., don't fix what isn't broken. As shown by the chart on the left, the hypothesis turned out predominantly correct, with most models showing only minor changes of less than 5% except for paid DLC. Paid DLC shows a 9% increase for upcoming games, even when controlling for population. Interesting stats there. We've seen those fears come true throughout 2023 as numerous ongoing games shut down, often taking their studio with them, and those that remain, like Destiny 2, are currently in a precarious position. Ain't that right, Destiny 2?
Yeah.
Your game is done. The DLC, last one is done. Hey, DLC's on the rise.
It is.
Just said. Amid the live service unease, this appears to be the rising interest of the oldest model of paid DLC. 30% of participants said they were exploring that for their next game, up 9% for the most recent releases. So it's like, devs are kind of slowly trying to go back to that paid model, maybe, and introduce some paid DLC.
Because the live service model is obviously failing from their point of view.
Yeah, and, I miss 1,200 Microsoft points. Mike got you a Call of Duty map pack. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
the maps are good.
20 years ago, not anymore, man.
Now it's here's the season, free maps. One that's kind of mid every other month. Every season. Anyway, similarly, 76% said that they were eyeing an upfront payment, aka digital release for the next game. 22% were pointing towards a physical release. No surprise there, Mike. We're going away from physical. Everyone wants that digital. Alan Wake 2's digital. Hellblade Senua's Saga 2 digital. It's all digital. In general, developers appear to be split on what the future monetization for games looks like. There's a 1 to 4% difference in future projects having battle passes being included in subscription services and so on. The Game Developer Collective is a unique panel of over 600 fully verified game developers created in collaboration with Omdia, game developer, and GDC. It's crazy, Mike. It's coming from actual devs, huh?
Yeah, I think I think hopefully it's eye-opening for the devs, because, or maybe, like, I wonder how they're taking this data. Like, if you see your peers also reporting that players are losing interest in live service games, or that there's just excess competition, I wonder if they have the mindset of like, oh, we're not being as successful because there's just better competition. We should try to be better and faster, like make a better product, a live service game. Or do they just think like, oh, it's not us, it's the consumers that's the fault. Like, we need to like drive it a different way to make them more interested again. That kind of thing. I'm curious, like, how would you handle that data as a developer?
Yeah.
What's the pivot here?
Yeah, that's a good question, Do you go back to the old model, Mike? Do you just focus on your content, your game, you release it, and then you're like, you want to do extra? You should be like, hey, listen, we're putting our heart and soul into this. We love $20. You know what I'm saying? Just hand you DLC after, 6 months. I don't know.
I mean, it's really hard to say, right? Because I feel like the AAA studio games, they don't, because it's live action or live service, not live action, live service games, they release them broken, then update them part of the live service, just to get it out the door, to get people, like, it'll launch free, so you can't complain. But the battle pass has all the extra stuff that you want in the game to begin with, so then you have to sign up for the battle pass, and you're playing a broken game for like a couple of years. It's not fun as a consumer or a gamer or a player. I think I don't know, man. And then most live service games are always online multiplayer games,
Right.
and there's rampant cheating, it feels like, in every single game now. Like, just to the point it's not enjoyable. I will avoid playing multiplayer in certain games just because there's so many cheaters now.
Yeah. This thing,
Or
like,
I'll only play with like selected people that I know is like not cheating.
right. Makes sense. Do you think we ban the live service model for online multiplayer shooters in particular?
Ban it? No. Banning is never gonna happen. Banning live service. I could see regulating it like we've done in the past with loot boxes and like the lottery system of unlocking things, or being incredibly egregious in how they monetize aspects of the game that should be included with the initial purchase. You
Yeah.
know, just off the top of my head, like I think the worst situation was anything really EA has done, but Star Wars Battlefront 2, when you had like a $35 paywall to play as Darth Vader, or you can play for 1,000 hours. Like there
Yeah,
was no ability to grind.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons why I don't think I've ever really forgiven EA for anything. They were always like one of the most hated companies in the United States alone, worse than Wells Fargo. But I mean, it's nuts, absolutely insane.
Yeah, dude.
But I digress a little bit here. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like I wonder what the future is of gaming. I like the single player games that we've gotten over the last like 3 years, though. They've been hits. They've released finished mostly. Like I could think of a couple of outliers that like, okay, they need a 6-month patch to become playable, but I don't know.
Yeah. Single player, we talked about it in a previous episode too about how long single player takes now. So it's certainly an investment, right? Like a single player game, but
a lot of time.
Which I think is, again, devil's advocate to why live service is, I guess, there's a place for live service, I guess is the best way to put it. Because, just have something you can constantly update. I would love to see like a case study too, maybe comparing like, the way we release games, a decade ago versus now, in terms of like how live service is adjusted and how much more money live service can bring to a title, as opposed to just like it like blocking these things behind paywall and like, trying to have people grind to get like the cool stuff, instead of just saying like, here's maybe an easier way to get it in game that's, not time based or anything. You can just kind of unlock it at will, and it's much quicker. If people would be more inclined to play a game like that versus, a delayed kind of battle pass model. I'd be curious to see how that affects like consumer behavior, but
yeah. The other thing is too, I don't know how you feel about it, but this is the way I feel about it. When it comes to the battle passes, sometimes just the level of pandering or catering towards pop culture of whatever is going on in the world is so like, it could be so cringy, dude. It's like, what are you doing? Like, COD is a good example. Didn't they just do in the Warzone? They were like, for 420, they had an entire theme for weed.
They got Snoop Dogg in the game. What do you mean?
I'm just like, bro.
They got Snoop Dogg in the game. They had an Attack on Titan period. They had The Boys. Some of the characters from The Boys in there. Like, had a lot. I mean, Fortnite's the most egregious. If you want to talk about pop culture, they had everybody.
That's a fact. Yeah,
they got Rick and Morty. They got Peter Griffin. Like
they're freaking Thanos at one point.
Yeah, they got Avatar. Like you were mentioning. Like,
yeah, like literally just I mentioned less than an hour ago. I was talking about Avatar being in Fortnite and how I need to get in there. It's just, it's like I don't know how I feel about it anymore. Live service. I think I'll play any free game, but you know what like actually sets me off more than anything in a video game is tutorials that you can't skip.
I thought you were gonna say cheaters.
No, the cheaters are whatever, man. Like I expect it now. I expect it in pretty much every single ranked game. Like I just don't know if I can actually.
That's it, dude. It's like you don't know. Like I hear everyone that plays, a ranked in a game. It's like you can't help but go like a game or two without questioning someone's legitimacy. It's like I don't know. That's a little sus kind of thing.
It's so rampant. The thing that kills me now is like I see people who are blatantly cheating on stream, streaming on Twitch in front of 2,000 people. I know you're using a Cronus, bro. I know the only type of precision I've ever seen with somebody like that is using a mouse, and it's been a professional player, and I know it's legit because they play the same way as they do on LAN. And now I see these absolute bots in Call of Duty cheating their butts off, going to a LAN and getting cooked.
Yeah,
Absolutely
and
cooked.
you wonder why, do you?
Yeah, it's like, oh, why? Why? No, they're just stage fright. What are you talking about, stage fright? They stream in front of 3,000 people consistently. What stage fright are you talking about, dude?
It's not my environment, man. It's not my environment, Mike.
Yeah, what? You didn't have the right gaming chair. That's what it is. Oh my gosh.
Dude, why did they give us these chairs, man?
Yeah, it's not that. Like, I expect that now. It is what it is. But the thing that tilts me more than anything is tutorials that you can't skip, man. Like, I've been playing games for like 20 years, bro. Do not give me a tutorial on which buttons I need to press to drive a race car, like in the Crew or Need for Speed. It's like Ron Swanson walking into Lowe's. I know more than you. Get away from me, dude. I've been to Best Buy, and like, they try to help me. I'm just like, I know more than you. Just get away from me. I've like been more adamant about knowing what I know that people that are also customers have asked me for help. Like, do you work here? No, but what do you need?
Yeah. All right, if we're talking about gaming pet peeves, I just have to say this. It's kind of a two-part thing, but it's the same area, all right? If I get on a game, like if I get on a game and your interact key is F, I'm changing it to E. Sorry. Can't do it. If your crouch
it depends.
Is the C key, I'm a control croucher. I'm changing to control. I'm sorry. Like, that's my non-negotiables, man. I have to.
That's a good point.
I can't do interact F, can't do control, or I can't do C crouch. Can't do it.
What's your melee button?
Sometimes it's a side mouse button. Like,
yeah, same.
You see, like this one or that one. Like that. Typically.
Have you seen the absolute freak of nature that plays Counter-Strike? I think he plays Counter-Strike. His keys, like for arrows, are here. Like instead of what is it, AWSD?
Yeah.
He's like Alt, like greater than question mark fin, and like it's insane. It's like the wildest. Oh, dude! I'm not even joking. Yeah, it's something outrageous, and it started because him and his brother grew up playing on one computer, so they used split screen, and he had the right side of the keyboard.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, wild.
I can't get over you called the function key fin. That was
yeah, my bad.
I like it.
Hey man, we all have like preferences: tomato, potato, potato.
Facts. Listen,
GIF.
The only weird keyboard thing I've seen myself, that's pretty good. But like another one is I think it's Rocket Jump Ninja. He reviews a bunch of mice and stuff on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Great guy. He's like from Australia or something like that. Yeah, like every time he does like a new mouse comes out, he does a review on it. But he's a huge Quake gamer. Like he has, I think, over 10,000 hours in Quake. Like dude's insane. And so like he just plays Quake all the time. And obviously in Quake, like WASD doesn't really work that well. I'm pretty sure he does like QWER and like F or G or something like that to swap between all the guns. And like, dude, it's just wild seeing him play because he's just like so accurate and just like he's fracking everyone. It's insane.
Yeah, I've seen Dramus do something similar to that. They like he was so because he's a Quake pro as well, but he played Halo, and when he showed up to the LAN, his like keyboard was almost vertical with the way he like played.
Dude, 2018, I'll never forget that 2018 Fortnite. Everyone and their mother, ever since Tfue, like did his like vertical, like since he played like this,
everybody started doing it.
Dude, every like 15, 16-year-old started twisting their keyboard. It's just like everyone did it, dude. It was insane to me. I even for a little point when I was really into Fortnite, I like slightly this is straight. I like slightly tilted it in, and like after a while, I stopped doing that because I was just like, this is dumb.
I tilt mine about. If it's 180 like this, and this is my arrow key, I tilt it probably about 15 degrees. Yeah. Just because it's easier. I have this like rest.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just easier for my palm to fit because I have bigger hands.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
If anything now, like I actually like tilt my keyboard a little outwards. Like so it's like slightly out in that direction. That's like kind of it's a little weird.
Yeah, anyway. mine's getting beat up.
Oh man, that wrist rest, dude! I can't use a wrist rest. I just can't do it. I'm like rest to the table's my rest. I don't know, just me though.
Yeah, you get used to it after a while. I don't use anything at work, so
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
I
I mean, enough about keyboards and stuff. I think that's it for the articles we have.
So we got Mike. I ain't got nothing else.
Yeah, I ain't got nothing else. I think we're making good timing too, and I do appreciate everybody for listening. Do I want to go through the little outro that we got, or do you want to add anything?
Listen, I don't got anything. All I'm saying is just keep an eye out for shorts. I'm coming to. I will say for those. I mean, if you made it this far, thank you for being here. But also, the 30-day short challenge comes to an end on Tuesday, so I'm gonna have a shorter day out until Tuesday. And then I'll probably wean back to like 3 or 4 a week. And just try and make like 3 or 4 bangers. That's the goal. So, maybe a little less like quantity. Try to go a little more for quality, but I like, I have a good rhythm with kind of how this, stuff's going now. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for it, but we don't got too much left on the little streak here, and it's been good to see a little bit of growth. So,
yeah, dude. Well, I appreciate your help, as I've been saying forever. And every time you send me them, I kind of look forward to it. So for people that are just listening, what Kyle does is after he gets done editing them, he sends them to our group chat. And initially I thought he was like, oh, give me an opinion. No, he's just trying to get a way to transfer it to his mobile device.
Exactly.
So
it's easy.
So like it to TikTok.
At one point I was using Drive, but I was like, dude, this is just so archaic because like the Drive app is not fun to use on mobile. And so I'm just like, wait a minute, I can literally just post this to our Discord DM and then I can just download it directly and it's the same quality, everything. So
facts. Now you have an iPhone, don't you? Pretty sure you do.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The Google Drive is a little bit more convenient on a Droid because it's all interface, all interlinked.
Right, yeah. It's woven in.
Yeah, woven in is probably the best way to say it. But yeah, the group chat works fine. I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's smooth for me, and it's, I don't know, it's the best way to do it, and you can see the work before everyone else, so it's only fair,
Facts. Well, I think let's go ahead and wrap up. I know you want to get to watching a game. I have to go, so we'll just let the people go, and we'll do the usual. Like, if you guys liked what you heard, we do have links in the description below. You can check out the articles yourself. There are some comments and pretty much everything for the articles that we linked, and they're timestamped as well. We have social medias as well. I don't know. I don't think there's really anything else to add other than check us out on YouTube and any audio format of your liking. We're on every mobile device, everything really that I know of. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. I'm your host, MadMikeWillEatU, and it's Kyle Heath. This is the M2 Podcast, and have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week. Peace out.
Keep gaming.
See ya.